Hi, welcome back to Let's Build, where we've got two great builds coming up, along with this wonderful demonstration of my impeccable rally driving. There are chapter marks for both of the builds, and I think this is just going to be part one. I've got more builds I want to do on this classic car. And when I say classic, of course, it's another one of those cars on my list of, I wish I'd bought one at the time. I didn't have the money, of course, but I wish I had. Anyway, one more demonstration of my fantastic driving skills, and then we'll move on and take a proper look at the first of our builds. We all think of the BMW E30 M3 as one of the archetypal sports saloons for the road, and of course as a racer in various touring car type races, but it did have a rally career as well. And one of the most famous cars that was used in rallying was this in the FINA, I hope I'm saying that rightly, the FINA petroleum livery. Well, with an unfortunate colour change of course, but that livery is available in game, so let's get building this one. Let's see how we get on. As we roll into the auto shop, and I do suggest the auto shop in order to save a bit of money and get free crew colour application, etc., go 100% on the armour, and the brakes are up to you. You'll see I've highlighted the stock front bumper, and it is the closest, and a lot of these bumpers are simply differentiated by this daft sticker bomb thing or the carbon. XS Rally puts rally lights on, and the rally lights look really good. I haven't selected them. I'll show you why in a bit. We don't want it exposed intercoolers and stuff, so in fact the stock front bumper is fine, and it's the same on the rear. There are 4 different bumpers just with different finishes. Of course you want a full roll cage for rallying. Don't go padded. Generally cars don't have a padded cage because the whole point is that you have helmets etc and you are bolted to the car. You don't need the padding. Stage 4 engine, I would say, always. Again, these exhausts are all very similar, and they're not quite what we want. I just stay with stock. The fenders are just colouring. Now with the grille, headlight wipers, no, not for this one. Headlight tape is for a circuit racer. We have rally lights here, and they look really good. And you can imagine with the other lights, you've got 4 rally lights on the car. Again, no headlight tape. So why, if we've got the 4 rally lights and I'm doing a rally build, am I saying don't take these options? Well, here's the answer. Yes, I know it's a picture of a model of the car, but it's the easiest one I could find to demonstrate that the rally lights were in a pod on the bonnet. They weren't spread across as in the game. Most pictures of the car are without rally lights anyway. So then, a stock grille. Onto the hood. The standard hood actually looks pretty good on the car. I mean, it doesn't have hood pins or anything, but we don't get an option, I'm afraid, for those. The other ones, whilst not being too wild, are also simply not right. So stock hood turning out to be a good value build so far. For the headlights, I think I'd leave the standard ones. I mean, we know they're the wrong shape, but I think yellowy lights from the late 80s are much more likely. Let's look at all the liveries so we can see what's around. This first one, Scene Kit, I'm not sure that ever looks right for any form of racing one. Tell me if I'm wrong. The rust, just don't see the point. I mean, nobody rusts an E30. Duce Rally, that's the Jägermeister, of course, and this Zero to Hero is a very famous race livery. I think we'll do one of those later on. Ron Racer is the FINA, of course, that we're going to use. Drift Predator again. Is it based on anything real? Let me know if you know. And the same with the next one, which does look vaguely like a race livery. That doesn't. This one absolutely is. We're going to use the Rockstar Games one in our next build. So we do have some real race liveries, even though the colours are wrong. Yellow on black plate just helps hide it in the black at the back. Now I'm painting this car in crew white rather than ice white, and if you see my livery video you'll probably realise why. And if we have a look at the sills you can see it, but otherwise it's a little tricky, so we'll just take the car outside. Have a look now on the bonnet. You can see where it says Ron. On the rear spoiler it says Ron, and as you've already seen on the sills, and to have pure white against ice white really doesn't look very nice. In fact, if you're not going to do crew colours, for that reason I would probably suggest staying clear of the rally build altogether. Back into the workshop then to apply a primary crew pure white. I'm also applying pure white to the secondary, which you're going to see does the strip around the bumpers and the lower part of the car, as well as the roll cage. The livery is cut by the strip, and it's quite frustrating that when you put white in there you have that white line, and honestly the black look better. but it gives the wrong colour roll cage, and there was no black strip around the car, so I've just left it as ice white, and I think I advise you to do the same. Painting classic black before you start, make sure you get the black or zero pearlescent, which is what you want. Moving on to the roof then, have a look and you see the first thing is primary sunstrip, and you do want a sunstrip of course for a race car, so I would select that. There's some other fun options, some of them look quite good but they're not really suitable for what we want. On the skirts, I think the stock skirts are best because the rest, again like the rear bumpers, are just colours. I'll edit this bit out, it's where I discover I've accidentally left the car in ice white, so I nip back and put the crew colour on. Onto the spoiler. The sport spoiler here is actually quite close. I mean, I'd love to have had a little tiny bit of livery on it, but it really is very much in keeping. There is a liveried one here, but it's got these black centre uprights, and black stand out a lot more than white, and we already had too many uprights on the sport spoiler, so I don't want to put that classic spoiler on. Moving on down through the rest, because it's always nice to see them once. There's a lot of different colours based around similar themes. As I say, sport spoiler shouldn't have those little internal parts, but at least they're white. And as you can see, that race one, that's pretty good. We'll actually use that one later, the XS. Moving through the rest, there are very few in the way of stupid spoilers on this car, so that's nice. At least when Rockstar put it together, they were thinking very strongly about people doing sensible classic builds on the car. Suspension, stock suspension is not far off. We actually need it slightly higher still, I think, for a rally car, but we don't have that, so that's fine. Transmission and turbo are up to you, but I wouldn't turbo a car that didn't have a turbo. Now onto the wheels. I had initially selected these Wangan Master wheels, but if you're building in time with this video, don't click the button just yet, because I don't think they're right. They have too much of a low profile tyre, so whilst they're about the right shape, just slightly too much dish, they don't look right on the car. Gold is a good colour, by the way. The dark copper is a bit too dark. Maybe one of the chameleon gold type colours would be better if you have access to those. I don't. But then I went in a search of a similar wheel but to have a lower profile tyre, and we have here the Stanced EG. They were in the tuner section, by the way. These look a lot more appropriate. I haven't put tyre writing on. I think rally cars don't have it as much, and certainly no picture of this car I saw had tyre writing on. So that's it, nice and cheap. Stanced EG, paint them gold. We never put tinted windows on a race or a rally car, so that's quickly dispensed with. That completes the build, and apart from any performance upgrades you choose, as you see, it's a pretty cheap build. But if you want a lower ride height and you want some bigger wheels, then it's time to move into the touring cars. Of course, the E30 was in all sorts of championships, and one of them was the German one, the DTM. That is the Deutsche Tourenwagen Masters, if I got that anything like correct. It moved on later to what I would call pretty much silhouette cars. What was underneath was nothing like the car that was on top. But back in 1990, there was a huge similarity, and this wonderful E30 M3 was driven by Gabriele Tarquini and Steve Soper, two names I remember very well from the BTCC. I shall run through this build quicker because we've covered so much on the first build, so if things are unclear to you because you came here with a chapter mark, nip back and watch the rally build. On the front bumper we want stock, but with the carbon lip. You can see that lip very clearly on the picture of the real car. When we move to the back bumpers, we've already discussed there's only one option really, which is just to leave it as stock. For the chassis, again, we want the full roll cage, not the padded cage. For the exhaust, we can't have the twin exhaust in one spot, so just stay with stock. On the grille, this is a definite change to headlight tape, because you can see tape on the real car. That's quite common on race cars. On the hood, again, the stock hood is fine. I still will leave the yellowy headlights. For the livery, take the Rockstar Games one. You can see it's the exact copy of the livery that's on there, including the way it goes diagonally over the car. Pity about the colours again, but what can we do? Moving on now through the plate as before to the respray. You could on this one have either a classic ice white or the crew white. I've kept the crew white on, I mean why not, it is a slightly brighter white, but there's nothing annoying on the livery on this one. so it doesn't matter. Same deal with the secondary, both for the way it colours the cage and also the strip. Although it's so tempting to leave it black, I have put it back to white. I think it's that bit closer. It is a little annoying, as mentioned, especially the way it cuts the livery there on the door. Primary sun strip for the roof is still working, and so are stock skirts. Now for the spoiler, we want the XS spoiler. It has the little lip. It's not perfect, as in I'd love it all to be white at the moment, but it's not, so there we go. For the suspension, get it down to the bottom, which is sport suspension on this one. That puts the tyres inside the arches, which is where we want them. And for the wheels, we go into the track category and down to gravel trap. They are really quite close, very effective for the build. I haven't done a tyre design because the photograph of the car that I'm showing you, which actually comes from a sale advert for the car, doesn't have them on, but it's quite likely there would have been some in period. And I would think either the white or the yellow ones would look rather good if you want to put tyre writing on. And there it is with white, and we'll nip on down, put yellow as well. I think they both work. No tinted windows again, and that completes our DTM race car build. As we get the car out on the street, I think it looks really, really good. In the same way I thought my Jägermeister build looked really, really good. I love the car like this. I'm going to keep the car like this. I'm not too sure if I'm going to keep the rally car as a rally car. I'm tempted to put it back to Jägermeister. Which brings me on to, would you like a part 2 of this? I could run properly through the Jägermeister build that you saw on my garage tour, including the crew colour to get the correct orange. And we could certainly look at a car using the zero gas livery to compare it with the real thing. And of course we could build a road car, maybe an Evo, a Sport Evo, Rivalier, Chocotto, something like that. I'm pretty sure we've got all the parts to at least make one of those very convincingly. So there's room there for at least one more video, perhaps 2, although of course they can all be sped up now that we've seen the bulk of the parts on this one. So if you'd like me to make that video or videos, let me know down below and I'll certainly do that. And of course I really would like ideas for this series, so if there's any real world car you would like me to build, or even an in-game car you just like to let me have free reign, just mention the car and let me go, see what I can make, then I would absolutely love to do that for you. That'd be great fun, so let me know down below. Of course, if you've had value or inspiration for the video, or heck, even if you just like to see this race car now in the sunset, then please do hit that like button. That would really help me to grow the channel. And of course, if you like real cars in GTA, then please subscribe, because it's what this channel's all about. I'm not sure how the video ended up quite so long. I do apologise for that. It didn't seem that long when I was recording it. But hey, if you stuck around all this time, I really appreciate that. You can prove it by putting the word dogleg after the gearbox in the comments down below. But yeah, especially if you got this far, thank you so much for watching.